Well, hello and welcome. You're watching this very special chat here on ET Now. The gentleman I have with me today on the show is Mr. Tim Draper of Draper Associates, one of the most accomplished venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. Right now, of course, he's visiting India as part of the show which they are launching, Meet the Drapers, where they would be looking for the next billion-dollar idea from the Indian entrepreneur ecosystem. Of course, that show will be exclusively also played out on ET Now later, but right now, let me welcome Mr. Draper. Thank you very much for your time and chatting with us today.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for having me.
Tim, you're coming to India at a time that the entire global investing setup has been shaken in the last 48 hours. It was perhaps brewing, but asset classes globally are melting. And though it's only the equities and the commodities which are melting, but I'm sure this will also have some impact on valuations of the unlisted companies, the morale of entrepreneurs, and also as well as the sentiment among investors is concerned. How are you reading the sudden storm of risk off globally right now?
Well, I think the investors were on such an optimistic state of mind for so long that when they got hit with some sort of fear, they were waiting. They've been waiting for this moment to sort of go into fear mode, and now they're in fear mode, and they're going to run from the markets for a while. That just happens, and whether it was the coronavirus or anything else, they were waiting for a moment to have that change of heart, and I think that just happens.
And I believe you moved out of a lot of positions in the stock markets a couple of months back. You saw it coming?
I didn't see it coming. I just thought things were getting really overheated. I didn't know that there was going to be this spread of fear throughout the world all at once. I didn't realize that was going to happen. I just thought, yeah, the markets had gotten pretty hot and companies were valued too high. And so I kind of moved a lot of my money out of the public stock market into private stocks and into Bitcoin and into safer places.
In fact, you did double up your positions or actually increase your positions quite a lot in Bitcoin recently. Are you happy about the government's recent decision, Indian government, to lift ban on cryptocurrency here?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I am so happy. And I even wore this tie in honor of the Indian government. The balance scale here, I don't know if you can get that, but anyway, there's a balance scale that represents justice. And on each side, you have the balance of gold and Bitcoin, which is kind of fun.
No, that clearly shows your love towards.
Got me this tie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and it's really wonderful. So, yeah.
So we'll come to Bitcoin a bit because it merits a deeper focus. But right now, I want to understand. You are a third generation investor. You've grown up listening to interaction and chats of how to look at companies, business models, entrepreneurs, whether some of them are legitimately requiring money or are they being greedy. Tell us about give us some color on your growing up days with your grandfather, with your father.
Yeah, it does wear off a little. My grandfather was the first Silicon Valley venture capitalist. He was a great investor. He also did a lot for the world. He spread a lot of goodwill around the world, and so and my father was one of the pioneers of venture capital, and then he was the head of the UN development program, and so he spread a lot of good feelings around the world. And my mission in life was to spread venture capital and entrepreneurship around the world, and that has been a very exciting thing to do. We've built the Draper Venture Network, and that's been a fun part of my career, and that's how I ended up here in India.
No, we are very happy to have you here.
But in growing up, yeah, there were a lot of sort of dinner talk conversations about startups and what companies were doing and what frustrations my father was having with the various entrepreneurs and what successes he was having, and he seemed to have so much fun doing it that it was a real attraction for me. And I feel actually the same thing has happened. Two of my sons and one of my daughters. Well, I have 4 kids anyway. 2 sons and one of my daughters has become a venture capitalist too, and I think they saw the excitement I had in investing in these very dynamic, exciting entrepreneurs and seeing how they would perform over time. And I love what I do. I love the impact it has on the world, and I love what entrepreneurs do. And every time you see me out there fighting for one thing or another, it's usually fighting for the entrepreneur.
In fact, VC investing is a bit like social capital in a way as well, because a lot of these entrepreneurs identify a problem, they come up with a solution and a business model around it. And in that sense, they're looking for help in the form of capital and VC funding. Give us a flavor of what kind of activity do you see buzzing right now back home in Silicon Valley, or even some of the other countries you must be visiting, which have become hotspots for very high quality ideas looking for capital, perhaps Israel or any other?
Well, we saw big changes happen when the internet came, and they transformed some of the biggest industries in the world: media, communications, information, gaming, some of the biggest industries in the world. But the largest industries in the world are now potentially going to go through major transformations because of Bitcoin, blockchain, smart contracts, and artificial intelligence. So we're seeing some amazing things happen around artificial intelligence and the decentralization of the world. The geographic borders become less relevant. Of course, the politicians are trying to bring tribalism back, but we all know that we're global now. This is a really amazing time because those are some of the biggest industries in the world: banking, insurance, commerce, government, healthcare. Those industries are in the trillions of dollars. They are enormous industries, and each one has the potential to go through a major transformation where the service that entrepreneurs and businesses can provide will be a quantum leap better than what we're getting now. And that is a major breakthrough, and that excites me about being in the venture business.
Mm-hmm. Let's come to Bitcoins then. You've been a Bitcoin bull for some time now, and you have been loading your positions. It's been widely reported. Give us a flavor. How much skin in the game do you have in terms of Bitcoin as a percentage of overall investments, and what are the triggers that you're so bullish about?
So what I'm really excited about with Bitcoin is that I feel that you have, it's very rare that you have this kind of an opportunity where people are going from money that's tied to governments that is full of friction, where people, merchants have to pay 2.5% to 4% to the credit card companies and the banks, and where government might just print a bunch of money and then your money's not worth much, or in the case of India, take all of the money off the table. We are right now at the cusp of where we have a global currency, and Bitcoin allows you to move money across border frictionlessly. And if you're a merchant, you can actually accept money from your customer without the 2.5% to 4% that goes to the bank. So you're seeing the banks kind of line up against this because they're saying, hey, I want my 2.5% to 4%.
Sure.
And you're seeing some of the politicians saying, well, wait, no, we don't want Bitcoin. And then you see that the customers, all of us, the citizens of the world, are saying we want it. Because, I mean, if you were in Syria and you had a bunch of Syrian money and then you got moved out by the military and you're suddenly in somewhere in Europe and you're a refugee, you have no money and you have to figure out how to start again. Well, if you had Bitcoin instead, you would just move to Europe and you'd start using your Bitcoin and you'd have a jump start wherever you were. And so there are all these other applications and great uses of Bitcoin, and it's just a matter of time before the customer, the retail customer, sees that this is a better way of using money than rupees or dollars or whatever.
Sure. So the benefits of usage, universal application, global ease. What about the challenges of Bitcoins? What are the risks associated? Because we did see in the last couple of years, there was a time of the big bull phase in the prices of Bitcoin, and then it crashed very sharply. Increased volatility is also something which people are wary of when investing.
Yeah, I
in
kind of
Bitcoin.
look at that as like Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin, but all the other currencies, I see them being very volatile as they slowly disappear off the map. Of course, you'd rather have a currency that had a fixed number of pieces to it. There are only 21 million Bitcoin out there. Than have a currency that drops. I mean, the rupee has dropped over time against the dollar, and other currencies around the world. If you had Nigerian naira, you would definitely feel like Bitcoin was not in any way volatile. You'd say, my God, the naira drops 50% a year. So people are starting to see that, hey, this may be the currency of the future, and it is a more stable currency than all the other government currencies. They flip up and down against Bitcoin because they are on their way out.
So the Indian government has changed its stance towards cryptocurrencies, and the step which has been taken, which you have also liked. How are countries and economies and regulators across the world looking at this relatively complicated currency right now? Because a lot of time regulators may not be on the ball about the technology which is disrupting a particular sector, and there's a lot of promise that this is disrupting finance globally.
So I think what they're concerned about is losing their tax revenue. But I think that they can work in a tax, and they can make it so that you could do a transaction tax, very small transaction tax of like 0.25 of a percent, and that could actually generate more revenue than they get from their own fiat currency. So I think the governments have to start thinking more independently, more creatively about how they're going to work with these new currencies. And some have. I mean, the Japanese made Bitcoin a national currency. The Maltese have made Bitcoin the center of their entire economy. And the Swiss have started out thinking they had the tiger by the tail, and then they overregulated, and they realized that regulation was losing a lot of their business, and so they deregulated, and suddenly the Swiss become a more attractive place to go. This is it's opening up. A lot of people are affected in a lot of different ways. The Chinese government tried to make it illegal because they've become very controlling under the new president, but they realize that probably is not going to work for the long run, and they're going to have to either create their own cryptocurrency or make Bitcoin a part of the national economy. It is going to be the part of the economy that grows the economy, and so I think governments push it away at their own peril. I think they're going to be much better off if they embrace this new technology. All the greatest growth in any economic system has come because governments and people embrace new technologies. If you're stuck with the old way of thinking, if you're stuck with tribalism and fiat currency, your government will, the people around your government will will falter while the rest of the world thrives.
Tim, let's focus now on your process of investing. When you're actually analyzing companies, entrepreneurs, the conversations you have with them, talk to us about what do you look for, the spark which everybody talks about. How do you analyze that or spot it?
In some ways it's a science and in some ways it's an art. When I'm looking for a new investment, it's usually in a startup. I mean, most of my investing goes into startups, and that can be, two girls and a dog. It can be just the beginning of a spark of an idea, and they're just trying to get started. So what I look for is this something unique? Is it a technology is it a company that is taking advantage of a new technology and applying it to a marketplace where they can get a wedge in there? And then is that marketplace a big enough opportunity so that if it works, it's a great success? A lot of investors, very good investors, go through life saying, what if it doesn't work? And they're worried, and they focus on the negative, and they focus on eliminating risks. I look at it entirely differently. I am saying, what if it works? How great would it be? How great would the world look? Will it promote peace and excitement and novelty throughout the world, or will nobody care? And if it's something that nobody will care, then I kind of shrug and say, but if it's something where, wow, this could really change things and very much for the better, then I'm often willing to take all the other risks in funding a company, funding a couple of dynamic.
So startup
people.
investing is considered one of the riskier end of investing, because early stage it's just a concept, and all you're analyzing is whether it's scalable, how the quality of promoters, etc. You had some very good success in your early times in Twitter, SpaceX, Tesla, Baidu. What are the next areas or sectors you think would be disrupted, apart from finance, which you think Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will do?
Well, I actually think this decentralization is going to be a big deal, because that's going to change government, insurance, a number of different fields. And I think artificial intelligence is going to move very quickly into medicine. And I think healthcare is going to go through major changes, where your diagnostics will be really data driven. And so the data you can collect on yourself is so much more than any doctor could possibly ask you. It's not just your medical records, it's your genetic history and your blood test results and your Fitbit results and what you had for breakfast and the seat you sat on the airplane and the people you've met and the places you've been. All of that can and actually probably could be a better predictor of coronavirus too. It could do a much better job than a doctor possibly could. And when combined with a doctor, might even do a better job. And then on the therapeutic side, I think there are going to be some interesting new drugs that are targeting specific to you based on your genetics, based on your history.
Customized.
And they can be very much customized. And certain drugs might work on me and not work on you, and vice versa. And that is going to change the whole nature of the drug industry. And so I suspect that there will be amazing entrepreneurial success there, and also some concerns amongst the monopolistic oligopoly of pharma companies.
Sure. So let's talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, the role this will play in possibly disrupting the models which exist right now. Pharma is one example. and also how some entrepreneurs, with the help of AI ML, will do the same thing so differently that there would be much higher efficiencies, much lower operating costs, and hence they could be very great success ideas.
Yeah, I think you said it just right there. A lot of people say AI is going to eat all our jobs. In some ways, that's kind of true, because all the repetitive jobs where you're doing the same thing over and over can be done by artificial intelligence, and it's going to start to happen. And so some of those jobs will disappear, except that the people won't disappear, and the creativity won't disappear, and the people and creativity will rise. Just the way when the farmer developed the tractor or the hoe, people don't have to be doing their farming on their knees with their hands. They can actually have more of a life. Same kind of thing will happen, and as we move into a very future world where ideas will turn into products and services much quicker. As consumers, we can be much more particular about what we buy and sell. And I think we'll do, as humans, we will achieve much greater things. We'll explore space. We'll understand the human body more. We'll understand how economics work. We'll have a better sense for how politics should work. I actually believe that politics is going to move into a period where it's more of a competitive force, where rather than the Indian government competing with the Pakistani government for economy or whatever, they will actually compete for citizens. They'll compete with services that they provide. A lot of different countries now are thinking about competing outside of their border and providing services outside of their border, and that started with Estonia's virtual residency program. So those are some of the things that I see happening out there.
My last question to you, a lot of our viewers are entrepreneurs, people who are reaching out or trying to engage with the investor community. What is the one message you would give out to them when they're preparing their pitch or their business model on communicating with the possible set of investors? What should they bear in mind?
I think it comes before that. I think they have to feel it from their heart. They have to feel that this thing has to become really important, and that it is a human mission for them. Like, it's got to feel like it's bubbling up rather than coming from their brain down. It has to be bubbling up from their gut and their heart, and they have to feel it. And then, if they feel it and they say, we have to do this, this is too important, I have to do this, no matter whether I get money from anybody or not, then my only recommendation is take that first step. Just take the first step, see where you land, and then keep moving forward and trying until you get there. The greatest entrepreneurs, it's very interesting, one of the great ironies of life, the entrepreneurs that go after money never get it. The entrepreneurs that go after their mission all of a sudden end up rich, and they don't even know how it happened.
Right. On that words of wisdom, Mr. Draper, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed having this chat.
My pleasure. It'll be fun. I'm going to be interviewing a whole bunch of Meet the Drapers candidates here.
Great. Good
for
luck
our
to
next show.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you'll find
we'll need
your
it.
next big idea there.
I hope so.
Guys, with that, respect to you.